Hey everybody, this is Brian. I realize this is where you normally hear an awesome quote from the Venture Brothers episode that we're recording this week. This week, however, it's just me apologizing. And I'm apologizing for kind of what you're about to hear, in a way. I'm not sure what happened with my microphone, but it sounds like shit for about two-thirds of the episode. I have done everything I can to clean it up, and it still just does not sound good. Graham and Nick sound wonderful. I sound horrible. So here it is anyways, and I still think it's a very good episode, and we have a lot to say, and it's a lot of fun. So there you have it. I've apologized. Enjoy the episode.
Cool. Hi, welcome to Venture Bros Podcast. Me, your host, always Bryan Dressel. With me, as always. Oh crap! I didn't think of any fruits. Nick. A whole bushel of grapes, Friedemann.
A whole bushel turned me into wine.
A whole. You have to wait. And Graham.
Craisin.
No, it's not Craisin. Never Craisin. Graham. Raspberry.
Wow.
Mason. Yeah, that worked. I'm really happy that I'm sticking with fruits the whole of season 3. Never did I know how few fruits I knew.
Yeah, you. Yep.
No.
You certainly haven't done any repeats.
Yeah, I
Certainly
repeat
not
often. That's
4
part
of
of
them.
I mean, they're your nicknames after all. You don't just use nicknames once.
That's true. But usually a nickname does stick for one person as opposed to
I don't think that's how it
anybody
works.
Like, I've known
who's
Brian
sitting in
since
front of
college, and he has and always will be Brian Pine Fruit Mason.
That's the old
the whole
nickname there.
nickname. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Museum, now you don't, is the episode we're talking about today. This is an episode that came out near the end of the season, and it kind of comes out of the blue a little bit. We talked about it a little bit last week, not too much, because we were talking about a different episode. But this one really just kind of jams in the middle of a two-parter, and it's weird. But it works, and it's a funny episode, so I'm not too upset about it.
Yeah. I really like this episode.
I do too. I think this is one of the funnier ones. Like it's this is not the right time for it. I think one of you needs to say everything happens in the episode. I almost forgot again. Not that I've forgotten it all. Not that Nick had to cleverly insert a breakdown at the front of an episode and none of you noticed.
Which one?
We totally got away with it.
We got away with it.
Now we're
Because
just blowing smoke in cops'
we
faces.
didn't have any meddling kids.
But Nick, it is your turn again. If you would like to give us a quick rundown of everything that happens in the episode.
You got it.
Thank
so
you.
this episode's cold open is a flashback to. Did they ever set the date? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, we can safely assume that it's like somewhere in the 70s. And basically, it's a introduction to Spider Skull Island, which used to belong to a supervillain named Scaramantula. And they're plotting something against Dr. Venture. Dr. Venture is cleverly and very, very well disguised, and which we'll go over, I'm sure, later. And then, Graham did a great impression, and then
you should have done that, Graham. That was a bad idea.
Nope. It was bad. But good for a podcast.
Oh, no.
Then
Oh, no.
the Ventures save the day. The whole team Venture saves the day, rescuing Rusty, blah, 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 blah. It's like a setup, kind of like a very typical Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to present day, where there's an opening of kind of like a Venture museum. And not just like Dr. Jonas Venture Sr., but like just Venture kind of as like a whole, like a time capsule almost. And they're hosting like an event, and a bunch of different people are coming. Some people from that quote-unquote episode, which includes Scaramantula, and I have to look up his name very quickly, Brainulo, and
Not
the old
Brainiac.
Team Venture. Not Brainiac. Not MODOK either.
No.
Then going into kind of like all that's happening, Brainulo, to summarize basically the whole event, he is pretending to be senile, but it turns out that he's still very much with it. He is just pretty much like using his psychic powers, which he used to control a robot in the flashback, to amplify some negative feelings. So basically he's trying to get everyone to fight so that he can take control of the robot again, or just in general destroy everybody, because he doesn't want Jonas Venture Sr. to win again, quote unquote.
That's a very adequate breakdown.
Yeah!
That is way better than mine from last week.
Yeah.
And way better than Graham's from Always.
And
Finally.
you get a gold star.
Graham, what were you doing?
Okay.
Jesus.
Please don't. We need you to do the breakdowns.
So what do we think? Most of us like this one, right? Right? We kind of said that already.
Yeah.
I don't think I like it as much as you guys do, but it's still a super solid episode.
What don't you like about it?
I don't know. It's kind of dry. There's a bunch of stuff that I do like. It's got a bunch of one-liners and stuff like that, and I do like the interactions of like the captain and Richard and Paolo. But yeah, I don't know. It just there's not much going on. I like last week's episode better than this one.
Really?
Yeah.
That perplexes me. Because last week's episode does not have not Brainiac going up to Pete White and going, "You desire the mom from Growing Pains?"
Oh, right? When she was in the bath?
Classic disgusting Pete White.
Oh my god! But it's just the fact that I already forgot his not Brainiac. When he comes up to him, Brainulo, thank you. When he comes up to him and just like he's planning on like using him to start a disaster, and then he gets into his head and he's like, "Oh, this guy's a waste of space."
Yeah. Yep. I give up.
And even Pete White's kind of like, "Yeah, I'm horrid."
Exactly.
Why was
Gross.
Pete White even there?
Because Billy Quizboy was there.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I do love how excited Billy is to meet all of his heroes. It's strange he hasn't met them before, but
I think it makes sense because at the beginning of the whole show is when he really is meeting Rusty for the first time.
yeah, that's true.
So, and Rusty doesn't. It's established that Rusty doesn't really get together with these people at all. He doesn't like them.
Yeah,
very
unless he
much.
has to. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does confuse me that he hasn't met them before, but that exactly makes sense. Where it's like, oh, he's still new to this lifestyle. And he would never had the opportunity to meet them anyway, so.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's true. I guess that it's expected because he is such good friends with Rusty that somehow he would have interacted at one point or another. But it makes sense if Rusty avoids them, then there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to do anything for him. So
That's one thing that does bug me about this episode is his reaction does seem kind of outside. Like, yeah, way more civilian than what should be.
Billy
Quizboy.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I mean, it all depends. I mean, it'd be way more civilian if he actually has never met them. Then I think it kind of makes sense. Like, these are his heroes. They're the reason he's a quiz boy. Like, he's obsessed with these people.
Yeah. And I mean, further established by at the end when everything's going crazy, he's just stealing all the action figures. But yeah, I think that these are like his idols for the most part, and I think that for him in particular, like he suffers from arrested development to a large extent. Like he's really invested in kind of his past and then what he's nostalgic for, so it makes sense in that way. But I don't know, like I kind of am on the fence. Like I agree with both of you that like there is something that maybe he's a little bit too enthusiastic about it. There is something that kind of did feel a little bit more for the audience than for him as a character.
I mean, I could see that. I think for me it just comes down to like, because even when he's around Rusty, sometimes he gets that crazy. Like especially when they're like hunting down the orb.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
He forces Rusty to change into his old outfit just because he's so excited to be on like a team venture extravaganza.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
it is interesting. I mean, we always talk about what this show does as making these characters, the ones that we grew up with watching these cartoons and stuff like that, making them real. But Billy Quizboy does offer kind of an interesting perspective into it because we don't really see much of his perspective of the people who are excited to meet these people, other than the people who are the people who are in these stories.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, it's an interesting perspective, and I don't know. I don't know if the show would be. It wouldn't be stronger. It would just be different if we saw the entire. If we had seen this entire episode from Billy's gaze as opposed to like. I don't know whose gaze this episode really be coming from, like, because it's not really Rusty's, because Rusty's just kind of a secondary character, and that's kind of the point.
Right.
And it's not really Jonas Jr.
I mean, really, the episode's perspective is arguably it's Branulo and Scaramangela.
Yeah, I would say that.
And I do think that Billy, though, fills an important role, though, because they've been hinting at this for a long time, through kind of just like situational stuff, but never really calling attention to it, that this group was, I mean, like, they were the Rat Pack of their time.
Yeah.
I think that's like the way that they're set up, is that these people were incredibly important and incredibly influential and incredibly popular and unbelievably famous. So I think that, like, for him to have that reaction, I buy it. It's just maybe not to like the extent that he goes to, but I do think that they keep bringing it back and it keeps paying off. So while this might not gel with me now, it does gel with me as it continues later.
Yeah, which is totally true. I mean, when you're talking about the Rat Pack type of stuff, when you in this episode when we see Brok and Action Man talking, and Action Man's like, oh yeah, it was great, we would do this, and then jet over here, then jet over there, and by the end of the night we'd go catch the last few minutes of Frank's concert, and then we'd go on the town or whatever. And so yeah, it does kind of speak to, no, these are people who were people, the dream makers, the people that people wanted to be, and were looking at every decision they made, the cars they drove, and all of this other stuff. And so it's interesting to see that now, after so much time has passed, Billy Quizboy is still in that, and now he gets to be so close to these people. So I guess that reaction does make a lot more sense.
I mean, the way that I look at it is like,
this is the first time that we're seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of weird that the first time we're seeing it is this late in the show, but it is kind of like the best example would be if you got to hang out with all of the Beatles. It'd be that sort of like, we all know how famous they are, but still, it's the fucking Beatles. Like, so it'd be kind of that for him.
Yeah. Exactly.
But let's actually talk a little bit about Rusky in this one. Like, Rusky in this episode is... Do either one of you feel bad for him at this, or no?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I actually think that this is probably like a really... It's a weird experience, because so this is a very roundabout way to go about it, but so Savannah and I went to this art thing yesterday because her uncle was showing something, and it turns out the lead singer for Incubus was there showing off his art, and there was this like enormous line for it. And I was just thinking, I was like, the lead singer from Incubus, all I remember is that like every girl I knew in high school was like, he's so hot. And then I thought about it, and I was like, he was like probably in his mid to late 20s when that was happening. And I was like, what an awful, weird experience to have, where it's like the people that find you attractive are A, drastically underage, and B, showering you with weird affection that, like, obviously you can't reciprocate and probably don't want to reciprocate.
Would hopefully
but
not
also,
want to.
Exactly. But weirdly, it's just kind of like, what do you do with that? It's like it's just a very odd experience. And I feel like in a weird sort of way, Rusty's looking at Jonas with a lot of like jealousy and resentment for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
But I also understand where both characters are coming from. Jonas Jr. is talking about how great of basically idolizing this father that he never had, but not taking in any of the flaws that Jonas Sr. had. Well, Rusty can only see the flaws, which I think is very fair. And I think at this point in the show, if you're watching it for the first time, you're also kind of seeing a lot of Jonas's flaws. We've just seen him basically abandon a bunch of kids underneath his own compound.
Yeah.
We've seen how he treated his son when he was still alive, which was basically not being a father.
He's basically
And-
a shitty roommate.
Exactly. And we saw like the aftermath, or really the life that Rusty's led is not really great as a boy adventurer. He's basically perpetually getting kidnapped, perpetually put into these awful situations, and that's it. That's his whole life. So I kind of see both sides, so yes and no.
Yeah. Because the thing is, for me in this one, I feel like this is the one of the few times where we actually see like a side of Rusty that you could legitimately have sympathy for. Like, this is just...
Yeah.
Because they're at a party for his dad's life, and they're not at all acknowledging him. Like, at the very end, you kind of get,
Right.
like, a slight bit of rope, but you're not even sure if that would have been there had that huge brawl not happened.
Oh, I think it totally would have been there. I think that's the saddest part in this whole episode.
You think so?
Yeah, because I do think that Jonas Jr., while he shares a lot of the same flaws that Jonas Sr. has.
Yeah.
But I do think that he meant to kind of give Rusty the spotlight at that point. It's just that at that point, Brok read the room correctly and was like, let's just get out of here. Like, this is not worth it. Which is a good read of the situation.
Yeah, a bomb was about to go. It did go off.
It did go off.
Exactly. So it's a really heartbreaking moment because it's just like two ships passing in the night. It's just like, well,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah, because it is one of those things where, like, I don't think Rusty's wrong. Like, the fact that there's nothing of him there.
No.
Like, even if he did get the spotlight to say a few words about their father, like, that's not even that great.
I don't know. He's the closer.
Yeah, but if you're in a whole museum of Dr. Venture's adventures, and in like the interviews and stuff, they say, "What's your biggest adventure?" and he'd say, "My son." You'd imagine, like, because even Dr. Venture was smart enough to put on the bullshit face of, "I'm a great dad," even though everyone who watches the show knows that he wasn't. So if you're putting on that museum, the museum should reflect the Venture's idea of being presentable, which would be to be the great dad. So if you're ignoring that, you're almost more confirming what we all as fans know, that Venture was a horrible dad.
Yeah. I think you're right.
And I think Junior's kind of understanding of that was trying to put himself in that position. I mean, he did that on the sculpture.
Yeah,
on the
that's
ice
true.
sculpture.
Yeah.
And I think, Brian, I think you're right. I don't think he would have given the mic over to Rusty if it had not been for the brawl.
Yeah, I think that was
I think that was just a moment of like, you know what? Yeah, let's all come together and whatever. And I think it was just gonna be all about Jonas Venture, Senior and Junior.
Yeah, and the thing is, even if it wasn't, if all Junior was gonna give him was a minute to say something about their dad that everyone knows Rusty isn't that big of a fan of. I think a lot of people lie to themselves about whether or not Rusty loved his dad, but everyone has to have known, like, yeah, I can't imagine Rusty really liked his dad. I mean, he almost got him killed on a weekly basis.
Yeah. And he doesn't have any sort of fondness. I mean, like you're saying, everyone, especially Team Venture, knows that there's no love lost there.
Yeah, they might kind of lie to themselves a little bit, like, no, we were great uncles to the little guy, but deep down, everyone, with the exception of probably Action Man, knows what was going on. I could see Action Man being a little oblivious. Can we talk about Action Man very quickly? Yes, of course.
He scares the shit out of me.
See, I think Action Man's my favorite member of the old Team Venture.
Oh, him and Colonel Gentleman are definitely tied for my favorite, but Action Man is, like, the way the beginning is set up is, to me, clearly like as a Saturday morning cartoon, and he's the one who comes in just going, action, 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 just blowing people's heads off, jumps off of, like, I think it's like a motorbike, and then, like, lands on this guy's face and just pumps, like, at least 7 bullets into a henchman's head.
Action Man, what are you doing? Even Ukuk knows how to pull his punches.
Yeah.
My God.
Oh, God.
Just Colonel Gentleman punching people in this episode is just fantastic.
Oh,
That's
it's the
what we're calling
best.
Ukuka Monkey.
Even when he catches Brok in the throat with his cane.
Oh yeah, like
So good.
I love Colonel Gentleman. I think the only reason I like Action Man just a little bit more is just Action Man's response time is just nothing to murder.
Oh yeah.
Whereas I think I find that just slightly more entertaining than Colonel Gentleman, because Colonel Gentleman can at least think. He might not
Yes.
be the best at it, but he can, have some power of reason, and no, Action Man does not.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know. Colonel Gentleman's also weird because he has such a weird set of morals. Like his
It's very
punching.
much his defined version of morals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think he
they're
may
his
still
and
be
his alone.
writing. I think he still may be writing his own morals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As he's experiencing them.
100%. Because he punches Rusty at the beginning of the episode for what happens in Dr. Quim.
Yeah.
Then he punches then he punches the captain for the line that Brian said earlier, which is, "That's for calling Ukuka monkey." And it's just like, what a weird way to solve a problem, quote unquote, but also good on him for standing up for people. Like, it's such a weird, I don't know, it's such a weird thing.
Yeah, and I mean, the way they draw him and animate him, he's not somebody I'd want to get punched in the face by.
No.
Like, it does not look like a pleasant experience.
No. He's a proper spy. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. We should probably talk about, if the point characters are Scaramantula and, not Brainiac.
Brainiolo.
Thank you. We should probably talk about them a little bit. And I think my biggest problem with this episode are these two guys, because they're so interesting, and they just don't do much with them outside of this. Like, they pop up every now and again, but they're just not.
It's weird. I really like them, and I'm actually surprised. I'm not surprised Brainiolo doesn't come back, because I think that he's kind of...
Well, he does, I think, twice.
Does he really?
Yeah, I think he comes back a couple times. Not very often. I could be wrong, but I think he comes back twice.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I don't remember when.
You're right.
but yeah.
No, you're right. He does. He comes back twice. Scaramantula doesn't come back at all, which I find criminal.
Yeah.
But, like, the whole thing I find is, like, he's Brainulo's, like, the vehicle for this whole episode. Like, he's the one who is introduced more or less at the beginning alongside Scaramantula and Manitor, who's dead. Wait, no, he dies later. But he's not at the party.
He dies way later. Because Manitor, doesn't he get offed by Phantom Limb?
But isn't that at the beginning of this season? Right.
It takes
so
him
he's
a
not
long time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's
But
not at the party
gone.
because he's
just
dead. That's what I'm trying to say. He
Okay.
doesn't die later than this episode.
We got there.
But basically, yeah. Oh God, whew, what a journey. But he's basically the vehicle because, like, so much of everything is revolving around him trying to, like, tear everything down. While Scaramantula is just, like, the comedic relief, who I'm surprised he never got back because, A, I think he's very entertaining and very, like, charismatic, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, he is a very interesting character, I feel like, because he, to me, feels more like how the Shocker is used in traditional stuff for Spider-Man, where he's not really interested in Spider-Man as a whole. He's just more interested in, like, getting rich. While Scaramantula, I would argue, is kind of interested in Dr. Venture, but just more interested in kind of, like, enjoying his life.
Yeah.
And part of it happens to be being a villain, or an antagonist, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Jesus.
No problem.
Words can hurt, Nick.
I know. Forgive me.
Like, he's a good counter to Colonel Gentleman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They would fight. If it was just those two, or a series based on just those two, you would have a series that would go on for decades.
Exactly. They're just, like, very quirky and fun, which is why I don't understand why he's never come back.
It is really weird, because, like, I feel like... I mean, who knows with this show? He could come back at some point.
Maybe. He's to
I
me...
feel like we've seen him, but he, just in, like, the background of something.
Yeah, or he's
Probably.
had, like, a line, I thought, maybe. I could be totally wrong.
Maybe. But certainly nothing more than that.
And yeah, and,
Right.
and that's kind of the point, is like I feel like he could have a much bigger presence in the show, kind of like some of the other older villains. Like we really only use Dr. Z, but I feel like if Scaramantula had made it onto like the council, I think he'd fit in perfectly.
Yeah. Which is really interesting, too, because the escape of this episode, the two of them, Scaramantula and Branulo, Scaramantula says, as he's going down the stairs, "We will live to fight another day!"
Yeah.
And then, I guess they live, but they're not fighting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just kind of weird. I mean, maybe they just didn't like voicing them. Maybe they didn't like drawing them. I mean, who knows? They have their reasons for why certain characters don't come back. And I don't think the show is like hurt by not having them back by any means, but it just would have been. It's just kind of something I like and would like to have seen more of.
Exactly. And it does seem like he fits the mold for somebody that they would bring back, at least like in bits and pieces, like Dr. Z that we had mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But Dr. Z, I think, is a better version, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, of Scaramantula.
Yes.
Yeah, like if I had to pick between the two of them, I'd go Dr. Z every time.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Is Spider Skull Island still standing?
Yeah.
Not after this episode, but I mean, like, in general, like, now, in 2019.
I think so. We haven't been there in a long time, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Junior isn't there anymore, so I'm wondering maybe there's an opportunity for Scaramantula to move back in.
Well, no, because either OSI or somebody took over Spider Skull Island, because that whole episode...
Oh, that's right. OSI did take it over.
I thought
Or not OSI, the new...
Yeah, somebody takes it over. It's not Scaramantula.
Yeah, you're right.
Dang it. Okay. All right.
I mean, we're gonna get there. I mean, we're jumping far ahead to the seasons that I have not watched 1,000 times, like I have the first 3. So
yeah, that's multiple seasons away.
Yeah, 4, 5, and 6. I think I've only watched like 3 or 4 times, especially 5 and 6, maybe 6, maybe twice, 7 only twice. So the first 3 seasons I'm much better on. But yeah, when we start getting to the other ones, I'm gonna need to watch them to be able to get my my random facts a little bit more in order.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we've missed in this one that we want to talk about? Should we move into funniest moments?
Yeah, I mean, just the general cover of Jonas Jr. being a complete butthole this whole episode to everyone, and especially the captain.
Oh my god, poor captain.
Yeah, a lot of the help gets walked all over here.
Oh, another thing in this episode is really, really, really weird. Tons of nudity in this episode.
Yeah.
You see Ned naked, see Colonel Gentleman naked, and you see Sally naked. Lots of nudity. I don't know how many times through this season I've watched it on Hulu back where it was censored, and now I'm going through my Blu-rays again. So the nudity always kind of catches me a little bit off guard, and I had totally forgotten about seeing Sally naked, and it's just like, whoa! This is an awkward moment.
On so many levels.
Yeah, this show is
amazing.
The show still catches me off guard, which I appreciate.
Yep. I think I've still only seen the censored versions.
I thought you were watching on Blu-ray now. Are you watching on Hulu?
Yeah, just Hulu.
Ah, well.
Yeah.
Then there you go. No dicks for you.
Nope.
And let me tell you,
correct.
Ned's dick is weird looking.
I bet.
So with that, I'm gonna go with
the captain was like, it's scared other people.
So with that, I'm gonna go into funniest moments, and mine is Ned running around naked while the captain's trying to get pants on him. And it never was until today when I watched it and seeing the uncensored version again. I'm like, my god, that is a funny looking penis. Just killed me.
Mine is a line from the captain. After everything is going down, Richard is completely deflated, having just succeeded to swallow the bomb. And then the captain walks up. He's like, tell the truth. You were just trying to kill yourself, weren't you?
Really quick, that is one thing we didn't really talk about much was Richard in this episode, and I want to just clarify for the people out there, like, are you not going to talk about Richard? I don't like talking about Richard in this episode because this is when Stephen Colbert wasn't voicing him, and the reasoning was stupid, and I'm still annoyed about it, so...
Yeah, me too.
I just kind of ignore him in these episodes. He might be entertaining, he might do a good job, and they might have done a good thing with the character, but that's not his voice.
I know. I feel the same way, and I feel bad about it, but it's like, yeah, I'm a little annoyed. It through no fault of the show's own.
Not the show's and not Stephen Colbert's. It's his damn
Nope.
assistant who just thought it would be beneath him. Whoever that person is, screw you.
Exactly.
You ruined an episode. Not entirely, but you made it a little less than it could be. You bastard.
Exactly.
Yep.
Nick, what was your favorite moment?
All right, so mine it's a little bit of setup, but it's from the opening where the group, which is Scaramantula, Manotaur, and Brainula, which is the Fraternity of Torment, are welcoming in a new supervillain from Dr. Fang Dragon from Japanawa,
Oh, boy.
who has a third nipple on his chin for some reason, and he's introduced by Scaramantula as my thoroughly Japanese friend, and I think that is my favorite part of this whole episode.
And who is easily over 6 feet.
It's just such like a callback to that time period to where it was like, Jesus Christ, this is the most racially insensitive shit I've ever seen, and it's just like, yeah, this is just normal.
When they cut to him and he's just holding his eyes back so they look Asian, it's like, you are the worst human being, Dr. Venture. Like, what is your malfunction?
But it's also crazy that there's a lot of James Bond references in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of them.
Yeah. Oh, James Bond had some dark days.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody wants to watch In Her Majesty's Secret Service, there is an incredibly racist scene where they capture all of these princesses and feed them their native dishes, and every single one of them is offensive. Every single one.
They give a woman a plate of bananas.
Who is from, they don't say where, but she is black.
Like, ooh.
It's bad.
Oh, that's a rough one. The documentary about it, Becoming Bond, is fascinating, though. I'd watch that. You can skip the movie.
Yep.
Actually, it's not a bad Bond film. If you skip the racist dinner scene,
I mean,
it's actually a pretty decent Bond movie. But, you know, you kind of have
What?
to...
You are out of your mind.
I am not. It is a decent Bond movie.
Decent.
Lazenby can go to hell.
Hey!
You need to rewatch it. I like Lazenby.
He wasn't the best, but he wasn't the worst.
I've rewatched it a few
Roger
times.
Tell you what, I'll
He's
take Lazenby
better
over...
than Roger Moore.
That's what I was
but-
going to say. I'll take
Exactly,
Lazenby
yeah.
over Moore.
There you go.
Okay, this is very derailed at this point, but there's one thing I have
Clown
to
Bond
say.
is all I gotta say.
There's a
What the
great,
fuck?
I think it's the last or second to last Roger Moore James Bond where he still insisted on doing his own stunts, and there's a part where he clearly, like, they want him to they cut in for him landing, and like just like off of a jump. But when he lands, he clearly hurt himself, but they kept it in where he lands and goes, ah, and like he reaches for his back, and they keep it in, so it's this like middle of the action sequence, him landing on the ground and going like, ah, and then they just like continue on with the action sequence. It's incredible. It's the best.
Oh, I love James Bond movies.
Yep. They're
Did
incredible.
we all get our funniest moment in there? We kind of got lost with the things we
Yeah,
forgotten.
sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
I was like, I kind of lost track. Did we get to everything? I think we did. Right?
Yeah, I said 9. Yeah.
All right, then we're good. All right, so that brings today's episode to a close, and I'm looking up really quick to make sure I have the name of the next episode right. Do either one of you know off the top of your head?
Oh, the next episode?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Give me 2 seconds. Oh my God. Give me 3 seconds. Wait.
Are you
I
doing
jumped.
what I'm-
The Lepidopterists.
There it
Yeah.
is. That's why I didn't have it off the top of my head. I knew it was hard to say. I enjoy the next episode. I don't really remember the next episode, so I don't remember how much I enjoy it. I remember the beginning, and I think that's kind of the whole thing, if I remember correctly. I think the whole
Interesting.
episode is like one action sequence.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And then after that, in 2 weeks, we have Orb. The first time as a Venture Brothers fan where I went, wow, they are going deep on story this week.
Yep.
And then we're almost done with season 3.
Yeah, then we got a 2-parter after that.
Which I think, I mentioned on After the Hype, if you listen to that I hadn't decided if we're going to do as 2 episodes or 1. I think after after the experiment with season 2, and I would say kind of failure with season 2 of splitting them amongst 2 episodes, I think we're going to do this one as 1 episode. It'll just be a little bit longer because we're talking about that much more stuff.
Yeah,
I agree.
So
that sounds good.
So we have 3 episodes left of season 3, and then we're done. Oh, 4 if you count next week. No, that's still 3. Oh my god, I can't count. So I'm just going to say bye, so I stop embarrassing myself.
Wait. I have one last thing to add that I didn't get to bring up. I'm sorry,
no.
because I'm a monster today.
Yeah, monster.
The guy who did the voice for Scaramantula is Toby Huss, and if you don't know who that is, you should look him up because he's in a lot of shit that you probably already like, including he's in Pete and Pete as Artie.
Well, now I'm sold.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm sold
That's it.
on, but I'm sold.
I just thought that was interesting.
It is interesting. I like Artie. I like Pete and Pete. I also like saying bye.
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 Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye 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 bye.
Bye.